Welcome to the Security in 5 podcast. I'm Drew, the binary blogger. This is a daily show talking about news, tips, and opinions focused on IT and cybersecurity related topics for everyone. I believe we all have some security responsibility, whether it's at your home, school, work, or personal life as we use technology. The more aware you are of the security world around you, the more secure you can be. Thank you for listening. This is Security in 5. Episode 1021 of Security in 5, and today I want to talk about Google and Google's Home Assistant. And it's no surprise that we have these Internet of Things devices with microphones everywhere that we are supposed to be comfortable that they are only listening to things when they are told to listen to things. But recently, Google employees have admitted that Google employees listen to conversations recorded by a Google Assistant even without users triggering "Hey Google" to begin recording. And this was done apparently behind a closed-door session meeting with Indian government officials, and Google's attempting to clarify the claims. They released a statement that in standby mode, the Google devices process short snippets of audio, a few seconds, to detect an activation, like when people say, "Hey Google." If no activation is detected, then those audio snippets on the device won't be sent or saved to Google. The statement also noted that when the assistant detects its wake word, the recording may include a few seconds before you activate your assistant to catch the request at the right time. They have also previously admitted that employees do listen to short recordings, allegedly to improve language comprehension in its products. And they go on to state that as part of our work to develop speech technology for more languages, we partner with language experts around the world who understand the nuances, accents of specific languages. And these language experts review and transcribe small subsets of queries to help better understand the languages. It's a critical part of the process to building speech recognition technology, and is necessary to create products like the Google Assistant. They have since changed their policies requiring home or Nest users to opt in to having voice searches be recorded in the first place as a response to this backlash. So again, you put these things into your home, you put them all over in your offices, in your home, in your kitchen. This is the risk and the insurances that we need to have of how are these devices working, what's being recorded, when are they being recorded, and how is the company using them, et cetera, et cetera. But if you have Google devices in your home, and if you have any Amazon devices, Apple devices, you should go through these steps anyway, but I'm going to talk specifically about the Google devices. Here's the way to check whether you opted in or opted out, if you forgot if you did or didn't when they enabled this last year or whenever it was. Or if you're just curious to know what Google's recorded about you, there are ways to check. So to check the Google recordings of what they've recorded on you, all of your Google activity can be found in the My Activity section of your Google account. So in there, you'll find everything from your Google Map entries, your search engine queries, your recordings. You can read a list in the Google Home app, so you can pull up the list on your Google Home app, or you can go on a PC and actually listen back to your own voice search history if it's been recorded. So thankfully, you can also easily erase your history by deleting your recordings on a PC and deleting the recordings on your phone. So if you've previously opted in to allow Google to save your audio or voice commands, you can easily stop the devices from doing so. There is a trade-off though. If you disable Google saving your audio or voice commands, doing voice searches with Google Assistant will stop working unless you enable it. So if you are doing a lot of searches using Google Assistant, there's not a lot of people that I know that do, but if you do, you'll want to keep that enabled. If you don't do it, then go ahead and disable it because it won't matter for you anyway. So on a PC, you can access this feature by clicking on the settings bar in the top left corner of your myactivity.google.com. So just go to your My Activity page on the top left. There you go. From there, look for activity controls, and then at the bottom or in the middle of the page, toggle auto recordings on and off. Google will then prompt you and make sure, are you sure, are you sure, are you sure, tell you a bit more of what's going to happen, and beg and plead you to keep it turned on. If you still wish to proceed, click I agree. If not, hit no thanks. If you're on the mobile app, tap on your profile icon in the top right, My Activity, and then Saving Activity, and then from there you can toggle the feature on and off. So this goes into, one of the reasons why I do this podcast and post things on Twitter and all of this is to bring that awareness to the masses, because companies, not just specifically this one, but companies in general, unless they are forced to have an opt-in option, a lot of these new features, Facebook was notorious for this, still is in some respects. is releasing new features that open up data collection, open up these types of features, but they're turned on by default for everybody. In reverse, they should be opted. You need to move to an opt-in, which means they're disabled by default. Apple is moving and forcing applications to do this in the recent privacy updates in the App Store. If you want to have these things recorded, you should be able to be aware enough, knowledgeable enough to go in there and go, yes, I want this company to record my recordings for whatever use they choose. The majority of the people, when they do realize what that means, what it does, just the knowledge of that, my recordings when I'm not using the device may be recorded and stored, most will say no. And that's what these types of companies want to do. Data collection is king. Data collection is the profit monster that all these companies go for. Applications aren't free. You are paying it with your voice, you're paying it with your data, you're paying it with your behavior, you're paying it with all of the data that they collect. That is their business model. That's why they offer these things for free. But by doing so, you are paying a price. It's just not monetary. So if it is an opt-in option, everything is disabled by default and users have to voluntarily open those doors. Most won't. What happens when that happens? The profit margins go down. That profit dollar goes away. So there's a huge fight to not have that be enforced. That's why the big Apple privacy flip, where it was an opt-in type of approach, that's caused a lot of ripples in the industry who require that data to force their ad revenue to profit margins and all of those types of things. But at the end of the day, if you put these things into your home connected to the internet that has the ability to record video, record audio, this is the risk that we're having, because that transparency of what is being collected, how is it being used, and more importantly, who can see it and what are they doing with it at an individual level inside of the company. That's a very gray area, foggy, misty, whatever. We don't have a good regulatory process to control all of that. And that's the risk that we have for having these types of efficient and convenient devices in our homes. And, as we see things going forward, it's going to take more breaches and more things like that for legislations to finally crack down on it. It will happen, but not until the expense of all of our data is collected and used and sold everywhere. Security in 5. Be aware, be safe. Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of Security in 5. If you have any questions on today's episode or any suggestions for future content, feel free to drop me a line, reach out to me at Twitter, post a question on the Reddit channel, or go ahead and drop me an email. If you want to continue to support the show, you can head over to the Patreon site. All the links are in the show notes of every episode. And remember, be aware, be safe. Thanks for listening.